Set is the Egyptian god of the desert, storms, and violence. He is a war god who defeats the serpent of chaos, Epep. He is the god of the red lands to the west of Egypt, all the way to the Atlantic. Set murdered his brother Osiris, and when Isis found the body, Set cut the body up into pieces and scattered it all over Egypt. Horus then tries to avenge his father. Just like the old Kung Fu movies, Set and Horus fought for 80 years. The battle began when Set tried to seduce Horus. Horus caught the load and threw it into the river. Horus then added a secret ingredient to Set's salad. The other gods declared Horus the winner because they found his seed inside of Set. Set didn't give up. The conflict ended with a boat race. Both the boats were supposed to be of stone. Horus had a boat made of wood that was painted to look like stone, and Set had really a stone ship. Let's just say Set didn't finish the race. Right? The result of the conflict was the god fought, which means there was a bunch of stuff going on, and either Horus or Set had a baby. Okay, well, enough of that. I believe that the Set animal is a horse. But to accept this, we will have to acknowledge that the horse was always in Africa. Set became the god of the Hyksos after they arrived in Egypt. They just associated with them after they got there. Set was always the god of the Libyans. The Libyans are said to have been the first people to worship Set, or by the Greeks' name for him, which is Poseidon. Poseidon being the Greek version of Set. The Libyans, at the dawn of history, was known as excellent horsemen. Herodotus called the Nubians a nation of horsemen. He also said that the Libyans were superior horsemen who always fought on horseback. It makes sense that a nation of horsemen would have a horse god. The Libyans were as warlike as Set himself. Herodotus stated that the Libyans practiced war and no other trade. So it makes sense because there's no land bridge, there's no water between Asia and Africa. There's a ton of horses in Africa and Asia, so of course they would have just walked right over, or maybe they started off in Africa in the first place. There's no way to tell. Alright, so after the Libyans' war with Ramses III, 183 horses were taken as booty from the Libyan chiefs. The Hyksos invaded in 1650. A horse grave was found at a fort of Bahim, dated to the same time period. Fort Buhim is on the Libyan frontier. So it is said that the Libyans attacked that fort on horseback, right? And the teeth of that horse bore the signs that it wore a bit. And let's see, the idea that the Hyksos introduced the horse has to be false. Besides, there's a 4,000-year-old horse skeletons that were found in Algeria. Much like the Plains Indians, the Libyans may have called the horse the sacred dog.
They will receive this. He is called Sacred Dog because he can do many things your dogs can do, and also more. He will carry you far and will run faster than the buffalo. He comes from the sky. He is as the wind, gentle, but sometimes frightening. Look after him, always. Clouds close.
Dry Wadi, less than a mile from the cattle monuments, he found something even more conclusive. An engraving of an animal-headed figure.
Most exciting subject of this engraving is surely the dog mask. This kind of human beings mask wearing are actually one of the most important subjects represented in the Messac area. We can understand the age of the engraving from the color, which is very black. It means very, very old. What is the relevance of this kind of dating from these engravings is that the
Set was the god of deserts, horses, and the Libyans are known for also deserts and horses. To understand Set better, we're going to have to take a look at Poseidon of Greek mythology. Poseidon is the Greek version of Set. Much like Set, Poseidon is the tamer of horses. Poseidon also is known as a sexual predator. Poseidon forced himself on Demeter and on Medusa. Set forced himself on Horus and probably a lot of other different gods and people also. But he hollowed out Horus's eyes also, and that's what they meant when they said that he stole Horus's eye. Poseidon was also worshipped by the Libyans at Lake Triton in Tunisia. Being drunk was said to be possessed by the god Set. A sick person could be healed by getting drunk. The demons inside of him would become fuddled. A wine offering was also given to Set during worship.
Picking up the water.
They needed to be sure. After a tortuous 10-day camel journey to the nearest town with their fragile cargo, the team returned to Rome to have the mummy analyzed. Dr. Giorgio Manzi of the University of Rome is the world's foremost expert on human remains in Libya, and his department boasts an impressive collection of Libyan skulls.
The reason why the members of the Italian team in the 50s inferred that the child was a black child, a Negro child, is mainly a consideration of his face, especially the length here of the root of the nose, or also here, the moving forward of the mouth.
The mummy's teeth also revealed he still believed that thousands of years ago this area was inhabited by black Africans from the south. But apart from some rock art depicting black hunters, archaeologists had no proof of this. The mummy changed all that.
The significance of the black mummy is very great. We have the first evidence of black people in the area, that it was supposed to be, but we hadn't had evidence of this.
This was the beginning of an extraordinary quest that would ultimately reveal an unknown African culture.